What is up, everyone? Welcome back to my channel, and if you're new, welcome. My name is Meg. This is Bachelor Talks, and today we're discussing episodes 3 and 4 of Bachelor in Paradise 2019. Before we jump into the recap, I have a really quick announcement. I will be out of town next week, pretty much from Tuesday through the weekend, so it'll make it pretty much impossible for me to film and recap and actually probably watch the episodes. So next week there will not be a recap on my channel, but the week after we will be back to regular programming. If you are new here, hi, hello, welcome. My name is Meg. If you are interested in checking out other videos on my channel, I do a lot of beauty focused videos with some lifestyle videos mixed in, so be sure to give my channel a look around before you go today. If you're interested in this makeup look, there is a tutorial. It'll be linked right up there for you. Be sure to hit the notification button. Why is this a struggle today? Turn on the notification bell so you can be notified when my new videos are live. And let's roll into the recap. By the way, also don't mind my underarms, like they don't get tan. So I just wanted to point that out in case like my hand is super white and my face and body isn't. What a surprise, we had another drama-filled 2 episodes, no big shock there, so I'm just gonna try to get through this as quickly as possible. We start off the episode with a rose ceremony, which seems to be a reoccurring pattern, so I'm just gonna expect each episode to end with like the rose ceremony about to start. So for roses, we have Derek, of course, giving his to Demi, Clay gives his to Nicole, Wills gives his rose to Katie, Kevin gives his rose to Sydney, JPJ gives his rose to Anyeka, Cam gives it to Caitlyn, Dylan gives it to Hannah, Blake gives it to Tayshia, and she was like, so like, I am only accepting your rose because I want to stay here and not go home yet. It's just like the look on her face was great. And then in a shocking turn of events, Chris chooses to save Christina. I think we all kind of thought he was going to pick Annalise. I kind of wish he said why he didn't pick her. Like, he didn't really ever give a reason. There was like no interview for him saying why he didn't pick her. And Annalise was just kind of like, what the hell? Like, everybody was like, what? So what are your theories? Why don't you think that Chris stuck with Annalise and decided to give Christina a chance? I think it's pretty clear moving forward that he didn't have that much of an interest in Annalise. We kind of see who his interest is. So do you think he was just keeping Christina around for drama purposes because they were going to bring Dean in the next day? Could be a theory. So going home are Annalise, Jane, and Bibiana, and I'm not really surprised because Jane didn't really do anything but make John Paul Jones throw up tacos, and Bibiana just cried at the bar, which she does all the time. So I really hope that if they come back, they can kind of get it together, especially Bibiana. She's been on, you know, The Bachelor, she's been on Winter Games, she's been on Paradise, so she should kind of know how to get the ball rolling and how the game works. So I was kind of surprised she wasn't putting in more of an effort to try to stay and try to connect with someone. Because the name of the game is, even if you're not feeling someone, you kind of like fake a connection anyway, just so you can hold out to see if someone better comes along. As shitty as that is, that definitely happens throughout the first couple of weeks in Paradise. What did have me laugh, which I don't know if she was joking or being serious, because like she was crying when she said it, but she was like, maybe if I had hooked up with Blake, I'd still be here. And I was just like, you probably would be. Of course, we have Jordan come back to Paradise because what would be Paradise without Jordan? So I will say that he doesn't really annoy me that much. He kind of did the first time he was on Paradise, but I'm trying to just like know that he is here to play a role and to play things up. And I really think that him and Demi play super well off of each other. We see that like later in the episode, but he tries to go after Hannah because it's pretty obvious that he has a thing for blondes and models. So Hannah's kind of like, yeah, and then she realizes like, oh, I have like too many guys, like too many options. I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. So she actually ends up turning him down. And if I would be so crushed if I was Dylan at this point, because it's pretty clear that he has no interest in anyone else but her. And she's just like, la 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 la, prancing around the beach. I just feel like Dylan's just like in one constant anxiety attack the whole time that he's here, wondering what's going on with him and Hannah. Because it seems like they do have like the best connection and a really great connection, and it just seems like she's just not ready to settle down quite yet. So instead, Nicole goes on the date with Jordan and they go ziplining, and they both agree that they had fun, but they both weren't interested in pursuing anything else. So for now, Nicole is kind of staying with her fixation on Clay. What was interesting to me, because I don't really keep up a whole lot with people after the show is on, unless I see stuff on Twitter that's like the E-News post or something like that. But apparently Jenna and Jordan broke up the day he proposed, and I was just like kind of shook by it, because I feel like he did have genuine feelings for her. As much as like he plays a character, I feel like he did really have feelings for Jenna. And I feel like Jenna just said yes to make good TV, and maybe that was the end of it. Do you guys know what happened with their breakup, or like were they both in on it? Was one of them blindsided? If you know the answers, let me know down below in the comments. So here we start to see Cam have a very awkward conversation with Kaylin. He like wrote her this note, and it was just like very strange. And she's just kind of sitting there like, I'm trying to smile, but I'm totally weirded out by you right now, man. So Cam is somebody that just like loves way too hard and like way too fast. And I think that the definition of Cam is somebody that is just desperate for love and desperate for attention, that he'll kind of take anyone for it, because he spends these 2 episodes just talking about how he's ready to be married, he wants kids, he has the name of his kids picked out already. So I think that he's in this for the wrong reasons. He doesn't really care who it is, he just wants it done. What are your thoughts? I feel like he's setting himself up for heartbreak. And throughout the next 2 episodes, we just see him walking around the beach lonely. And I feel like he's self-sabotage and he's in his head too much. And that's probably also why it didn't work out with Hannah. I think he's just way too much of an overthinker and wants this too bad. And I feel like he just needs to like relax and learn how to be happy on his own and be happy with himself. And then maybe love will present itself to him. What are your thoughts? Did you feel bad for Cam, or do you still think that he's like the worst, most annoying person ever? Let me know. Now we have the infamous Mike come on to the beach. This is a really hot pick for The Bachelor. I'm still kind of hoping that he'll be the next Bachelor, so it doesn't really seem like things are going to be working out too great for him in Paradise. I'm interested to see if he's going to get picked to stay or not. But Anyeka was really interested in him, so maybe she'll pick him. But he didn't really have an interest with her. His interest was with Kaylin, so she got to go on the date with him. And again, it was a situation where he was way more into it and she was kind of like, meh, about it. So who do you think would be a good pick for Mike? Let me know. Another note that I had was that Clay wanted a comparison of dates between him and Jordan, and I just thought that that was really weird and unnecessary and like a big sign of insecurity. Now we have Wills, who again is like trying to make a connection with somebody, trying to find love with somebody. He tries to make a connection with Katie and just like failed horribly. So I feel so bad for Wills. I have a feeling he might be going home. Who do you think? Do you think there's anyone that could be a good match for him? This whole interaction was such a mess because Katie just began sobbing and she was just like, I don't want to be in a love triangle. I only want to talk to people I'm serious about. And she was just like, the pressure was on. She was just like feeling it a little bit too hard, maybe a little bit too much that day. So she had like a mini meltdown and he was like really patient and understanding of it. Although I kind of wish they had captions on the bottom of the screen because I really couldn't make out 90% of what she was saying. I don't know if Wills did either, but it was really hard to understand her. So now we have Chris, who we're kind of like, what are you doing, man? He swoops in, sees that Katie's upset, super sweet, goes over to her and was just like, hey, like, are you okay? What's going on? Why are you upset? And makes his move. So we can definitely see that Chris and Katie have a connection and she seems super into it, super excited about it. Now we move on to the Blake, Hannah, and Dylan love triangle. We see Blake dancing with Hannah on the beach. And what I don't like about this is that they're literally doing it in plain sight. Like anyone can see what they're doing. And I thought it was funny because all the girls are like, he did that on me. Like Tayshia's like, he used that on me. Christina's like, he used that on me. Caitlin's like, he used that move on me. Blake, you gotta get yourself some new moves, buddy. So So yeah, I didn't like that. They start making out. Dylan's just watching. Like, I feel so bad. He tries to go up to be like, can I talk to you? And then Hannah's just standing there like watching them like argue and fight over her. And I think like this is kind of the shift where everybody's like, what the hell is she doing? Like, what is wrong with her? And I feel all of us at home are kind of like, girl, like, you need to speak up. Like, why are you sitting there letting two men argue? Like, you need to say like, Dylan, please respect our time together. I'll meet up with you later. Or you can say, Blake, I'm gonna go talk to him. I'll find you later. Just don't stand there and let two grown men argue over you. So eventually Dylan decides it's not worth it and walks away. And it was just like really sad to see. And that is the end of episode 3. So now we are going to move into episode 4. John Paul Jones is the whole mood, just like passed out in the pool. Like, I feel like he's just been living his best life in paradise and just like not really giving a shit about anything. So I'm kind of into that vibe. And then now this episode more so starts to focus on Demi. So we have Demi expressing her feelings and what's been kind of going on in her head to Katie. They're kind of been alluding, like whenever they show a couple and they're like, they're so great. And then like somebody starts getting second thoughts and you know that that couple is down the road to Dunzo or having some serious problems. So Derek's just kind of like, I feel like she's being hot and cold, kind of closed off, kind of open. I don't really know what's going on. Demi explains to Katie that back home she was dating somebody back home and can't get her out of her mind. And while she really likes Derek, she also can't stop thinking about the girl that she was dating. And she feels super conflicted on what to do or how to proceed. So she talks to Katie about this. She talks to Tayshia about it. So basically the next thing is for her to talk to Derek about it, which we get to later in the episode. But basically she opens up to Derek and lets him know what's going on, what her feelings are. And he is really understanding of what she's going through. But his concern is, well, where do you see us after we leave the show? Like, because obviously he needs to protect himself and he doesn't want to fall in love with somebody that's just going to go back to who they were dating after the show or lead him on and not really know what to do. So I get why he's just kind of like, all right, I understand, but just let me know what's going on. And they both agree to be really open and honest with each other. So I think that they had a really great productive talk. And I think that we all needed to see kind of a vulnerable side from Demi. It was nice to see it and how she was just like, yeah, like I have this whole ego thing that I play up for the cameras, obviously, but she's just like, I'm a real person and I can't stop thinking about the person from back home, which I can't blame them. I mean, there's only so much you can do when you don't have access to TV, your phone, books, music, like, so I can only imagine that all these people are probably really inside their heads, and that's probably why Katie had a meltdown in like the last episode. All right, so now we move back to Blake talk and Kevin speaks for the first time in 3 days. Like, him and Sydney are getting like 0 airtime. Like, Sydney kind of gets more airtime as this episode goes on, but like Kevin, I forgot he was even there, to be honest. Kevin who? So Dylan is trying to get answers about what's going on with Blake because he's really falling for the girl, and you know, damage control, gotta protect yourself, kind of the same thing with Derek. And Hannah admits that her and Blake met up before the show, so it's like more secrets about Blake, and now it's just starting to get to a point where it's too much, and it's like, what are you doing, dude? Like, you really dug yourself deep. Basically meeting up, hooking up with 3 girls before you go on a show, and then you take Tayshia on a date. Did they not want to be obvious by not taking Hannah on the date first? Like, I don't get it. Like, what is he doing? Everybody is just pretty pissed that this was kept secret, and everybody thinks that Hannah is full on shady. They already thought Blake was shady. So what is your take on them meeting up and keeping it from everyone? I definitely feel like Hannah is a little bit of a player, and I feel like she kind of knows what she's doing, and she's getting caught in what she's doing, so she's trying to backpedal. So let me know your thoughts on that. So my thing that I don't get with the whole like Hannah and Blake meeting up before situation is that she was being so open with Dylan about like the other guys that she's been kissing and making possible connections with. So, oops, I forgot to turn my ring light on. There we go, that's better. So anyway, she was being upfront and open and honest and communicating the other guys that she was hooking up with Dylan, but then she hid the Blake thing. So it's kind of like, No, like I was giving her props for that, like that's cool, but was she doing that to cover her tracks because like he could find out from literally anyone else that she was doing that? Or was she being genuine by telling him? So it's kind of like, if you really were being genuine by saying like, hey, like I made out with this guy, I made out with this guy, I kind of like this guy, like why wouldn't you just put that all out on the table all at once? Like there's definitely some shady stuff happening behind the scenes, that's for sure. I know in my last video I was giving different perspectives on like how to think about the situation between Christina, Kaylin, and Blake. But yeah, it just sounds like Blake is just, So now that that secret came out, Tayshia is pissed. Like, hella pissed. And I would be too. She was just like, we were friends on this season. We shared a room. We literally lived together for months. Like, we kept in touch after the show. Why wouldn't she tell me this? Like, why would she allow me to go on a date with him? Like, why did nobody tell me? And I would be just as upset. And I feel like she is rightfully upset. The only person that has been upfront with Tayshia about anything that has to do with Blake was Christina. So I'm just like, Kaylin and Hannah, like, what are you guys doing? You need to step it up and be a decent person. Hannah feels attacked by Tayshia confronting her and said that Tayshia mean girled her. As someone that is a very big fan of Mean Girls, I would like to say that is not what happened. It's called being an adult and owning up to your shit. It's not mean girling. Tayshia's not going around spreading your name through the dirt, starting up rumors about you. She did the adult mature thing, sat down, confronted you, and you just sat there and just shriveled up and didn't say anything because you were too shell-shocked that somehow she found out when this information is out in the open. I'm like, girl, get it together. I just don't get how you can play the victim when you weren't being upfront and honest about things that were going on. Now enters Dean and his ridiculous mustache. I feel like this is like another Hannah Blake situation. I feel like Kaylin was kind of like holding out hope for Dean to come and like maybe they were gonna plan to meet up. Maybe that was a little premeditated because she was like a little too excited when Dean was there and a little bit too into it too quickly. So do you think that Kaylin and Dean had a connection before the show, or do you think she was just like genuinely excited to see him? So anyways, Kaylin is also making this about her and is crying and is upset because she thinks that Christina is talking about her behind her back. But at the same time, dude, like, you knew Blake was with Christina and like you knew that they were kind of talking and then you hooked up with him. So you can't really be surprised if you overhear somebody talking about you when you kind of like overstepped a boundary by hooking up with somebody that somebody else was talking to, if that makes sense. So yeah, Kaylin was crying and Dean was there to comfort her. How convenient. He asked her out on the date card, and this is, you know, Nicole and Kaylin are kind of going head to head with these dates. They each have been on 3 dates. Their date goes really well, and it's already out there that they're together still to this day. So obviously they're gonna make a connection. Not gonna spend too much more time talking about them because we know the outcome. The best part of this episode was definitely the commentary between Demi and Jordan. So now Christian shows up and I'm like, who the hell is this guy? And then of course they're like, he's the night 1 guy from Becca's season. And I was like, so what are your thoughts on Christian? Because he comes across a little arrogant and maybe a slight bit douchey, but Nicole is very much into it. She's like, I like somebody that's a little bit arrogant. Clay's a little bit too passive and Christian's a little bit more upfront, which is what she's looking for. You know, she has like that Miami flavor, style, and Clay's just like a little bit too like laid back for her. So they get to go on a date together. Nicole makes a comment that she's playing the field and having so much fun, but I feel like that could really bite her in the ass, especially when it comes to next week, because she's been on 3 different dates. So it's just kind of like, if you're just kind of hopping around from guy to guy, not making like an actual connection with any of them, who's to say that they're gonna keep you around? You know what I mean? But I don't think we're gonna have to worry about that because we literally see in the preview for next week's episode that Clay and Christian get into a fight. So are both of them going home? Is one of them going home? I guess we're gonna have to wait and find out. I also put in my notes that I don't really see Sydney making any moves. I mentioned earlier, like, Kevin spoke for the first time in 3 days. Sydney's not really getting much airtime either, so I'm kind of like, what are you doing? Who are you gonna go with? Clay and Christian get into an argument, and this is the difference between Hannah and Nicole, is that Nicole tried interjecting several times to get them to shut up while Hannah was just like enjoying the show. So that's the difference, and that's why I just don't like Hannah. The edit gets really weird here because it cuts back, because like this all happened at night, and then it cuts back to a few days ago during the day, and we see people wearing clothes from like the beginning of the episode or beginning of episode 3, and Katie having a conversation with Derek and like telling Derek like, no, she really likes you, like you just need to talk to her, like she has feelings for you, blah blah blah. So I guess they did that to lead into Demi having that conversation with Derek, which I already discussed. I just think it's really great to see her vulnerable and just like explaining her feelings and openly admitting that like, yes, there's somebody back home and like I made a connection prior to coming here, but I'm still open to this process, but a little bit conflicted. So again, props to Demi for being open and honest. Finally, we get to see Sydney start to have a connection with Mike. Mike is sitting there and he's kind of watching all this stuff happen, and he's probably like, what did I just walk into? So he makes it very clear he does not want to be a part of any triangles. He just wants to focus on one person at a time, which is looking like the smart way to go about it. Now, in a plot turn of events, we see John Paul Jones trying to, first I was like, did he just pass out on a bed or something again? But he was trying to memorize poetry because he's really taken a liking to Tayshia. So I don't know what happened with him and Onyeka, if they just decided like they're kind of friends or whatever, but now he really has an interest in Tayshia, and Tayshia's like willing to give him a chance, and she's like really impressed by his poetry, and we see in the previews that things are gonna heat up between them, so I feel like that's like the most unlikely duo coming together. Are you surprised by those two getting together? Let me know in the comments. And I got ahead of myself. I was saying Clay and Christian got into a fight. It was Jordan that picks the fight, not Clay. This is all so much information and so confusing. So basically the episode ends with Nicole and Christian and Clay. So my issue with this is that Christian walked up to Nicole, was like, can we talk? Clay only gets mad when he sees Nicole talking to somebody else. Like, bro, you had just as much time as he did. You had just as much opportunity as he did. You can't only get mad that someone's talking to her. You know what I mean? Because like, you had all day to make your move. You had all evening. You had any time before he did to make a move, and you didn't seem to care to talk to Nicole. But now all of a sudden that somebody else is giving her attention, now you're gonna be pissed. You're gonna be upset. You're gonna do this. You're gonna be that. Like, I can't feel bad for you. You had just as much time as Christian did to go up and talk to her if you really cared that much about building a connection and having a relationship. And the episode ends with Jordan starting to stir the pot with Christian, and then those two are the ones that get into the fight. So let me rephrase my question. If Jordan is the one that goes over to instigate a fight with Christian, should he be the one kicked off the show for instigating? Or should Christian get kicked off for getting physical first? Or should they both get kicked off for fighting each other? Let me know your thoughts on this week's Bachelor in Paradise. Don't forget to check out my other videos. I have the playlist over here, and then you can find last week's episode if you would like to catch up on that. But yes, don't forget to subscribe before you leave today. These recaps, man, they take a lot out of me. I'm like, I need to go drink some water and relax now. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I look forward to hearing your response in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye everyone.